Hey, everybody. Facebook mysteriously went down for one of the largest social media outages ever. What caused this? What's behind this? We talk about, are we going to war with China? And also, left-wing activists confront Senator Kyrsten Sinema. That and so much more here in The Charlie Kirk Show. Email us your thoughts, freedom@charliekirk.com. If you want to support our program, you can do so at charliekirk.com/support. That's charliekirk.com/support to get behind the work we are doing to try to reach millions of young people every single month. Get involved with Turning Point USA at tpusa.com, where we play offense with a sense of urgency to win the American culture war. 2 things you have to know about Turning Point USA. Well, really 3. First, start a chapter right now. Number 2, come to our tour. We still have on the schedule, depends when you're listening to this, but University of Minnesota Mankato, Boise State, Baylor University, University of Oregon, University of Vermont, Clemson, Alabama, tpusa.com/CRT. tpusa.com/CRT. And also, the largest pro-American celebration in the history of the planet is going to be happening in Phoenix, Arizona, 18, 19, 20, 21 of December. tpusa.com/AMFest. tpusa.com/AMFest. Big episode. Facebook goes down. Senator Kyrsten Sinema is harassed. And are we going to war with China over Taiwan? Buckle up. Here we go.
Charlie, what you've done is incredible here.
Maybe Charlie Kirk is on the college campus.
I want you to know we are lucky to have Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk's running the White House, folks.
I want to thank Charlie. He's an incredible guy. His spirit, his love of this country. He's done an amazing job building one of the most powerful youth organizations ever created, Turning Point USA.
We will not embrace the ideas that have destroyed countries, destroyed lives, and we are going to fight for freedom on campuses across the country. That's why we are here.
Hey, everybody. This episode is brought to you by my friends at ExpressVPN, expressvpn.com/Charlie. Secure your device, anonymize your online activity, protect your action online. expressvpn.com/Charlie. Help our show out by also helping yourself. Protect yourself. expressvpn.com/Charlie. Are we headed to war with China? That's a very serious and real question that our leaders should be talking about. Instead, most of them are bought and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party through their surrogates, otherwise known as corporate America. We're going to get into the China issue, which is becoming more and more real by the day, and I fear unavoidable, unfortunately. But first, I want to get into this story with Senator Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona. Senator Sinema has, alongside with Joe Manchin, decided to just ask questions about a $4.7 trillion spending package that could be upwards of $8 trillion, actually, when passed. Senator Sinema represents a center-right red state. It is quickly changing, but it is our home state of Arizona, where at Turning Point USA we are headquartered, in Turning Point Action as well, and the Charlie Kirk Show. Very nice place to live. Hasn't been totally destroyed yet by the left. Very different than California, but I'll tell you what, Arizona's making its best efforts to try to collapse itself. Senator Sinema, I believe, wants to be a senator for the rest of her life. She does not want to come across as too radical. And what's really interesting is Sinema is not up till 2024, yet Mark Kelly is in cycle. And Mark Kelly is not even making an attempt, who's the incumbent senator, to try to be moderate. He's just doing everything that he's told to do. And he's very vulnerable. Mark Kelly is in Arizona right now. Extremely vulnerable. His numbers are not great. And if there's a good challenger against Mark Kelly, he will lose. So Sinema, however, being far more moderate than Mark Kelly, is one of the roadblocks in the way of this massive transformational $4 to $8 trillion, somewhere between that spending package. It was reported a couple days ago that Kyrsten Sinema left Washington, D.C. to go back to Arizona. Now, she teaches a class at Arizona State University. Senators are allowed to teach as a way to supplement their income. She teaches a class. I think she earns like an extra $25,000 a year, not a huge amount of money. And teaching's not easy, so I actually have respect for her that she goes and flies cross country to go teach a class back in Arizona. So she was on campus at Arizona State University. Now, remember, we played the tape last week at Arizona State University of the type of activist that they are creating, of 2 white men, one wearing an anti-Joe Biden shirt, the other one wearing a Bass Pro Shop hat. targeted by 2 black activists saying, "You are white, get out of our multicultural learning center right now. We demand, because of the color of your skin, you leave the area. Get out." You might have saw that video. We played it in great detail on our program. And so now we have another incident at Arizona State University, which, of course, the administration of Arizona State has done an awful job of actually explaining why the students at Arizona State University are acting like they're at the University of Vermont, which, by the way, we're dealing with that right now at the University of Vermont, where they're trying to destroy our upcoming speaking event, our Turning Point USA event at University of Vermont, where there's just this new there's this new article right now at some local website. Conservative speaker draws criticism in advance of Burlington critical race theory talk. Like, yeah. You know, they think that they can have just one idea, one viewpoint in Burlington, Vermont. If it's still part of the United States of America, we're going to go and visit. We're going to ask you some questions. But Arizona State University is now producing activists and very angry people that make it feels as if this is University of San Francisco, not Arizona State University. So Senator Kyrsten Sinema was teaching a class at Arizona State University and was targeted by a couple students or activists and was accosted. And it ended up being that the people accosting her, again, I don't understand why these people post these videos. Same with the first one of the racists and the bigots that were not held accountable by the Arizona State University administration. By the way, a lot of conservatives think ASU is this wonderful place. Arizona State University is a radical university, devoid of wisdom, devoid of principle, and if you want your children to hate the country, send them to Arizona State University. It's not to say that everyone does. My good friend Scott Hennon, I think, has one of his kids that go to Arizona State University, and I hope it works out well. I'm just saying Arizona State University, so there's some very nasty people that are produced from Arizona State University. But so these, and we also have a great Turning Point USA chapter there. But when you start to see these videos of these activists that actually post these videos, you think to yourself, if you commit a felony, do you still post the video? In their activist training 101, where they learn how to burn down Wendy's and, target white people, do they not say, hey, if you commit a felony, do you not delete the video? Well, it is a felony to go into the bathroom and to record somebody. You are not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to film inside of a bathroom. They did it anyway. So these are illegals that should have been deported. Obviously, they shouldn't be in our country. But no, they're dreamers. They're wonderful people. Yeah, right. And that go into the restroom, break the law, and record Kyrsten Sinema, where she's been a professor there for 19 years, belligerently screaming, "Build back better, build back better." It's their new incantation. Play cut 8.
Will you support the Build Back Better plan so that we can have justice and solutions that we need for immigration, labor, climate change?
Pass the bill.
Build back better, pass the bill. Build back better, pass the bill.
That's what happens when you send your children to college. They learn to say incantations and harass United States senators. Now, amazingly, Joe Biden, kind of being the mob boss, was asked about this. Joe Biden was asked about this. They said, hey, is it okay that Sinema and Manchin are being harassed? And Joe Manchin, kind of like Don go alone, he says, hey, it's part of the process. You might wake up with a horse in their bed. That's what we do. I'm going to make them vote the way we want them to vote. This is part of the process. Trust it. Play cut 20.
Senator Sinema last night was chased into a restroom. Do you think that those tactics are crossing a line?
I don't think they're appropriate tactics, but it happens to everybody. From the only people it doesn't happen to are people who have Secret Service standing around them. It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. You got to trust the process. He's like the general manager of the 76ers. That old general manager of the 76ers when they had like the worst record. So trust the process. Is Sinema being targeted by close allies of Joe Biden that are saying Build Back Better to try to pressure her into vote? Well, if you know anything about Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin, this is only going to further radicalize them to try to derail this entire legislative agenda and package. We told you that the Democrats are going to eat their own, that they are going to go into a widespread Democrat civil war very, very soon. So now here you have a Democrat senator from Arizona on a college campus, which is like a home turf, that is being followed into the restroom by illegal aliens. These are illegal aliens. These are trespassers in our country. They should be deported immediately with all of their friends, which won't happen. And the question is, how many Joe Biden voters have now realized that Build Back Better is actually just a Marxist incantation? I know so many people that voted for Joe Biden that are now regretting it for good reason. Senator Sinema has responded to the left-wing protesters who recorded her inside of the Arizona bathroom, calling it a lawless demonstration, which it was, and they should all be arrested. But they won't be, because if they get arrested, well, they might get arrested, but they definitely won't be deported. What would happen if a Republican chased a Democrat senator into the restroom? Insurrectionist, domestic terrorist. We would know their name, and they would be arrested. If a Republican did what the illegal alien Democrat activists did at Arizona State University, they would be indefinitely incarcerated in solitary confinement. I've been telling you guys about Relief Factor for quite some time. And truth is, I know millions of people are, in fact, 100 million people are in some kind of pain. Look, producer Andrew, he couldn't walk. He was a hobbled individual. He was bedridden in his chair, complaining all the time. And then all of a sudden we got this call from Relief Factor. They said, hey, we want to partner with your show. We're going to send you some Relief Factor. Producer Andrew got it. He took it, got a little bit better, took some more, got a little bit better. Next thing you know, he's doing the Fallsbury flop like you wouldn't believe. In fact, he might be training for an Ironman. It's pretty incredible. Now, he says it's thanks to Relief Factor. I ask him all the time, Relief Factor? He says relieffactor.com, 100% drug-free supplement. You can get it for less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day. So go to relieffactor.com, and I'm suggesting you order their 3-week quick start to see if we can get you out of pain. And then after that, it's less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to stay out of pain. So go to relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. I'm telling you, a lot of people are in pain. It's 100% drug-free. Don't go to opioids. Don't go to these other things. Check it out at relieffactor.com. Senate Republicans are alarmed after Afghan refugees walk off military bases by the hundreds. I thought it was Republicans that said we must let all these Afghan refugees back into the country. Invade the world, invite the world. So what do? I was just joking around with Connor. I said, instead of actually telling state governors to go arrest these people or to deport them, they wrote a letter. We have the ribbon-cutting, letter-writing Republicans. The senator's letter demanding more information follows a report Saturday by Reuters that at least 700 Afghans just left the U.S. bases without receiving any services. They're just gone. They're your fellow countrymen now, and if you disagree, you're a racist. Doesn't matter that Afghans don't share Western values. Doesn't matter that there was a ridiculously disturbing crime wave in Europe that we went into great detail in our program. No, instead, it says, while immigration experts told Reuters that those individuals are not breaking the law and that military officials have no legal authority to detain law-abiding Afghans, the senators worry that some evacuees are slipping through the alleged cracks in the vetting process. Of course, whatever states that they're in, if they're Republican states, the Republican governors won't do anything about it as the law continues to be disregarded. Now, explain to me how that's not against the law. You just walk off a base. Were you born here? Are you a U.S. citizen? You just do whatever you want? So it's my country now. Worthless. Writing letters. Meanwhile, remember, the Afghans attacked a female service member in New Mexico, and 2 Afghans were arrested in Wisconsin for sexual assault and rape of a minor, by the way. Email us your thoughts, freedom@charliekirk.com. Okay, I want to get to this story here. This is going to take a little while to build out. The most expensive movie ever made in China is a movie called The Battle at Lake Changjin. Now, you might not know much about the Battle at Lake Changjin. Well, it's a Chinese war film, and its budget was $200 million. The production company is the Bona Film Group Limited, which really specializes in Chinese films. It's a Chinese production company. Now, the battle at Lake Changjin, for all of you history aficionados out there, is a battle that occurred in the Korean War. Now, the Korean War is largely called the Forgotten War. The Korean War happened after World War II, and it was mostly a war of deterrence. The Korean War was to try to prevent domino theory from becoming a real thing, as the Soviet Union, alongside their partners, the Chinese, were taking over all of Asia. Harry Truman oversaw the Korean War, and alongside some phenomenal generals like General Douglas MacArthur, was able to raise support to go fight on the Korean Peninsula to push back the Korean forces that occupied the entire peninsula. Now, the entire peninsula, which is now known as North and South Korea, pushing them all the way back to the Chinese border, was something where we lost a lot of Americans, but nowhere near about what was about to happen. The story that is not told, but it's now told in China in the most expensive film ever made in Chinese history, was what happened next. To our great surprise, after pushing back all of the Soviet forces and liberating the Korean Peninsula, we were all of a sudden encountering, and we were shocked and attacked by the Chinese. The Battle of Lake Changjin catalogs a counterattack against the United States of America. It is an anti-American propaganda film that raises up the Chinese Communist Party of a time when they stared down the Americans and they won. The movie goes through. It's one of the most expensive films ever made, and it is actually performing better in mainland China than the new James Bond film. It's a story where Americans were trying to liberate the entire peninsula and ended up, we got pushed all the way back to what is now known as the demilitarized zone. The Chinese Communist Party is celebrating and is glamorizing and propagandizing their public against the death of Americans. Is this what allies do? Are they friends? We might be going to war with China soon. Last month, an absolute landslide of all of you made the switch to Pure Talk. You were chained to overpriced unlimited plans from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. Then finally you decided to make the switch because you know that Pure Talk saves the average family over $800 a year without having to sacrifice coverage. So do this. Make the switch to Pure Talk. You can keep your phone, keep your number, or get massive discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. And let me be clear, you are not sacrificing service with Pure Talk. Let me say that again. You are not sacrificing service with Pure Talk. They're on the same network as one of the big guys. Plus, Pure Talk invests a fortune into making sure they have the latest technology. They just pass all the savings on to you. Get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. Or if you still want unlimited data, you can get that and still save a fortune. Just dial pound 250 and say Charlie Kirk, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 and say Charlie Kirk. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless. Are we headed for a conflict with China? We have said that our sources within the highest levels of our military are seeing rumblings of a conflict brewing over Taiwan. Now, this is a very important thing to dissect and talk about. Xi Jinping has come out and he has said that it is priority number one of the Chinese Communist Party to try to reunify Taiwan. That's what he said. Resolving the Taiwan question and realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the Chinese Communist Party of China. It is also a shared aspiration of all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation. We will uphold the One China principle and the 1992 consensus and advance peaceful national reunification. All of us, compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait, must come together and move forward in unison. This feels like a veiled threat. We must take absolute action to utterly defeat any attempt towards Taiwan independence. They already have Taiwanese independence. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to reunify. What do you have to reunify if there's already Taiwanese independence? And work together to create a bright future for national rejuvenation. No one should underestimate the resolve, the will, and the ability of the Chinese people to defend their national sovereignty and territorial integrity. Now, China cares deeply about Taiwan. They're willing to do whatever it takes to take back Taiwan. But the Taiwanese government, with their own language, their own culture, their own history, their own people, they want nothing for it. They want nothing of it. In fact, a new story out today shows that Taiwan is bracing for war against the Chinese Communist Party. That Taiwan is preparing for a ground invasion from China, or an amphibious invasion from China. Cut 13, retired General Jack Keane on Fox saying that these are the different ways that Xi can move on Taiwan. Cut 13.
What he could do is prop down on one of Taiwan's islands, which is closer to the mainland, with military capability. What are we going to do?
What?
Are we going to react to that or not? My reaction to that, put military forces into Taiwan if he does that. He could blockade a major port. All smallest steps to break the resolve and will of Taiwan. He could go for what I call a quick kill, and that is massive air and missile attack, going after the National Command Authority and the elites inside of Taiwan, and force a surrender very quickly in 2 to 3 days.
56 Chinese warplanes intruded on Taiwan's A-DIZ today, surpassing the all-time record 38 Shenyang J-16 fighters, 12 Jing H-6 bombers, and some additional aircraft. Now, I want to keep on getting into the Chinese story, but maybe these are related as China beats the drums of war against Taiwan. And this might be solved by the time some of you are hearing me say this later at the broadcast of this program. But does anyone else find it kind of interesting how almost every major platform has crashed in the last couple hours? Facebook and Facebook Messenger, down. Instagram is down. Issues have been reported with Twitter. WhatsApp is down. T-Mobile has issues. Spectrum has issues. Verizon has issues. AT&T has issues. Google has issues. Cricket Wireless have issues. Amazon, Telegram are having issues. Apple, TikTok, Snapchat, and several more. What's going on here? Is there a state-sponsored attack against every single one of these programs? I mean, what would possibly tie all of these ones together? And we're waiting to confirm this, but it seems that now Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T are also down, according to the Daily Mail. What's causing all of these shortages, these outages? Does this have anything to do with the Chinese Communist Party intruding? And just to give you an idea of how social media addicted we are in our country, I've had at least 30 people email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Charlie, Facebook's down, Instagram's down. I wouldn't know that. I deleted all these apps a long time ago. Some people freaking out. Charlie, what do I do? Go live your life? Some people not as much freaking out. They're just freaking out that this could actually be done. Now, is the Chinese behind this? I don't know. We do know that China has been heavily involved in cyber warfare before. So China sends 56 planes towards Taiwan. Massive outages and shortages at every single social media tech company. Also, the same day, the whistleblower came out against Facebook. Want to play another piece of sound here. Maybe these are all related, or maybe these are two different data points. Retired General Jack Keane on how the movement from Xi on Taiwan can lead to war. Cut 16.
This is going to be a crisis, I think, that is going to get worse before.
Wow, this is profound what you're saying here, General. We respect your views entirely. But what we're describing here is the world going back to war at some point after 2022. I mean, that's profound. Xi is 68 years old, and you said at the beginning of this conversation, listen to what he says, and he has said repeatedly that this issue will be resolved.
He has a tendency to do what he says.
He has a tendency to do what he says, unlike Biden and the Biden regime, who do the opposite of what they say. Xi Jinping is going to try to take Taiwan. So here's the question. In the Taiwan Strait, what are we going to do about it? We're going to put an aircraft carrier? No. We're going to tell China to stop? No. China knows that our foreign policy is now the Taliban foreign policy. Give $85 billion in weapons to the Taliban. Now, if we had a foreign policy establishment that actually cared about things that matter, instead of giving $85 billion to the Taliban, why don't we give $85 billion of weapons to the Taiwanese? What a concept. Xi Jinping is getting older. He's growing impatient. And to stave off an inter-party revolt, they want Taiwan. Now, some of you might say, why does China want more land? Aren't they happy with what they have? You know nothing of empires. It is not enough till every corner, every speck of dust, every blade of grass is under the flag that they prefer. Go read some history. Alexander the Great was not satisfied till he reached the outer limits of India, was actually defeated in a battle, came back and actually died of, I think it was malaria or some form of like a West Nile virus. Mosquito actually killed him, an insect bite. Died on his way back home. Conquerors will not stop unless they are stopped. So who's going to stop Xi Jinping from taking the sovereign nation of Taiwan? Taiwan realizes they are alone, literally and metaphorically, on an island. Taiwan realizes that now China has sent 56 planes towards Taiwan. This move could happen any day now. What is Joe Biden going to do? Well, the Chinese Communist Party owns and operates Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, so probably not a lot. Is Taiwan going to fight, or has the Chinese Communist Party finally infiltrated Taiwan enough within their government, within their police force, to try and make an invasion of Taiwan easier? If you give every single Taiwanese citizen an AR-15, China would be terrified to invade. You arm the people of Taiwan, makes it a lot harder place to go land troops around every corner, around every shop. You would find a dedicated citizen ready to defend their land against the Chinese imperialists. And now you have all of this happening when basically the entire internet goes down. Let me reread this list. Rather extraordinary list. TikTok, Telegram, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp all go under nearly simultaneously. The Taiwan foreign minister has come out and said, we're preparing for war with China. The statement comes after Taiwan sharply criticized China on Saturday after Beijing marked the founding of the People's Republic of China with the largest ever incursion by the Chinese Air Force into the island's air defense zone. It's really hard to imagine that they do not invade with Mark Milley at the helm. Mark Milley, who's a Chinese Communist Party operative himself. He thinks China's wonderful. On ABC's China Tonight, Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said that if the PLA launches a strike, Taiwan is ready to repel it, which will turn that region into a war zone. He says the defense of Taiwan is in our own hands, and we are absolutely committed to it. Taiwanese fighters scrambled against 38 Chinese aircraft in 2 waves on Friday. It said Taiwan sent combat aircraft to warn away the Chinese aircraft, while missile systems were deployed to monitor them. Taiwan Premier Su Teng said China has wantonly engaged in military aggression, damaging regional peace. Yeah, well, welcome to the new imperialists. And where are the Americans? Nowhere to be found. Taiwan continues to say it's an independent country and will defend its freedom and democracy. Taiwan is going to be largely left to defend themselves. You have to understand that China views Taiwan as their own. But China views Taiwan as their owned and operated province, island, and that no one can possibly get in the way. This would unravel into a regional and possibly global conflict. The Chinese Communist Party is the greatest enemy to America, to the West, and to our way of life, outside of the domestic threats that we have, of course, against the American left. Taiwan foreign minister, we're preparing to go to war with China. Wouldn't this be an interesting time for most mainstream media to actually cover this? Now, they're too busy. What are they too busy? Trying to find this Landry guy? Or Dog the Bounty Hunter? The biggest war humanity has ever seen, we are on the verge of right now. And most people know nothing about it. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like checking in your baggage at the airport without a lock. You think your stuff is kept private, but you never know who's going through your stuff, who's going through all of your private items. When you go online without a VPN, internet service providers can see every single website you visit. They can legally sell this information to ad companies and tech giants who then use your data to target you. Browse more anonymously. When you use ExpressVPN ISPs, you cannot see your online activity. Your identity is anonymized by a secure VPN server. Your data is also encrypted for maximum protection. So it's easy to use. Fire up your app and click one button. It works on all devices, phones, laptops, or even routers. So everyone who shares your Wi-Fi can be protected. Secure your online activity today by visiting expressvpn.com/Charlie. That's expressvpn.com/Charlie. You can get an extra 3 months free. Use the VPN that I trust. I use all the time. I'm using it right now, actually. Get those 3 beautiful words in the rectangle. VPN. expressvpn.com/Charlie. Okay, so do we have the Facebook whistleblower here somewhere? It's just really interesting how Facebook goes down. Again, you might be listening to this at some point as we post all these things, and everything might be solved with this. But the fact that Facebook goes down for as long as it did, Telegram's having issues, Twitter's having issues, it's bizarre. But it's also on the same day that the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Hagen, or 24-Hour News Cycle, says that Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site. They'll click less and they make less money. Now understand, this whole whistleblower thing is a fake psychological operation to try to justify more government censorship over the internet. It is an attack from the left to say that Facebook is not doing enough to censor voices like ours. Play cut 12.
It's easier to inspire people to anger than it is to other emotions.
Misinformation, angry content is enticing to people and keeps them on the platform.
Yes. Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money.
And so she's trying to make the argument that Facebook's entire business model is around promoting and monetizing hate. Now, interestingly, Facebook is totally down. Telegram is having massive issues. In fact, my Telegram right here is not even loading. Interesting how that works. So there's something going on right now that is multi-institutional. So this Facebook whistleblower comes out and starts to complain about all of this. And we are now experiencing problems on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Is some state actor attacking every single major social media and communication company right now? Were we prepared for this? I don't know. Maybe that's happening. All I know is my Telegram is not working. Is yours? So we're going to keep on getting to the bottom of this. And let's go to cut 26 of Fauci's new movie. You didn't know Fauci had a movie coming out? They're acting like Fauci is Dwight D. Eisenhower, Harriet Tubman. He's the person worthy of praise. He's our Moses. Play cut 26.
When I think about my dad growing up, I certainly think about that seriousness. But very few people get to see. He's funny, weird, and really playful.
God help us. In 1981, HIV/AIDS was evolving rapidly and frighteningly. There was anger at the government's response.
When you got sick, you were gone fast.
It's affecting you now.
Yeah.
Why?
Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Now, maybe all of this is because Dr. Anthony Fauci is very worried that he is soon going to be indicted or investigated for lying to Congress, which he did. So this is a massive propaganda campaign. The same way Peter Strzok did this and James Comey did this and Lisa Page did this, try to turn public opinion in your favor. Andrew McCabe did this as well. When Anthony Fauci was obviously very involved in the gain-of-function research. So this new story coming out, or this new Disney Plus with National Geographic. I thought National Geographic was supposed to exist to like tell us the history of the Aborigine tribes in Central Australia, not to catalog some sort of con man that runs our public health agencies. Fauci coming to Disney Plus near you. Something happening on the internet today, and I don't think we're going to get much explanation. How much is the market down? It's down 380 points. I think that's just the very beginning. Telegram is down too. Do they not want us to communicate? Be interested to see if they were able to crash Signal. I highly doubt they'd be able to. Something's happening, and we're going to find out what it is soon. But the internet seems to be basically down. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Email us your thoughts, freedom@charliekirk.com. And if you want to get involved with Turning Point USA, you could do so at tpusa.com, where we play offense with a sense of urgency to win the American culture war. God bless you guys. Thanks so much.
For more on many of these stories and news you can trust, go to charliekirk.com.